Good morning, everybody. Hello. Let's just get this. Trying to be in the right spot. There we go. Let me put this down a little bit as well. Welcome back to another Market Open. It is May 3rd, 2023, 9:21 a.m. Doug Crawford, Eeyore was right. Martin Padilda, Iceman, JJ, Miyoko, Ty Gorton, Justin Bryant, Sethi Roth, Reza, Chris C. You said morning, Sir Cook Radio. Wow. You know, I call everybody else sir, so it's funny when someone calls me sir. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone is having a good morning. We are halfway into the week. Yahoo Finance is muted now. Bit started. That's what we got to do, man. You know, I wonder one day if those guys will ever reach out and, any of the big firms, if they're doing a segment on Palantir or just like, I don't know, a segment in general, it'll be cool. I'm still very small in the grand scheme of things, so probably not, but that would be super dope. Yes, okay, so I think the biggest news of today, Quarantine Quartet, thank you for being here. Breakfast Pizza, Geis, Philip, Rezo, what's up, Dex? Biggest news of the morning is that Ukraine allegedly, this is what the Kremlin in Russia is alleging, has tried to carry out a drone strike, and that drone strike was in an attempt to assassinate the president of Russia, Vladimir Zelensky, via drones. The attack was carried on by two unmanned aerial vehicles last night in Moscow. The drones were drowned. Putin is safe. Russia says it has the right to respond where and when it is necessary. And this is a video of the Kremlin after the attack. As you can see, there's some smoke in there, presumably from the drones. Now, I think there's two things to keep in. Also, U.S. intelligence officials have said this is true. So this is not just like random reporting. I think there's two things here. Either Russia is lying because they want another excuse to be able to get deeper into Ukraine and take more harsh, aggressive action, which is good for nobody. Or this is actually true. And Russia says, hey, like you struck first. You came after, obviously they have tried, I'm assuming, to assassinate Zelensky in some ways, but maybe not as explicitly as this was done in the context of Putin. And so now it was worse. If they were to be able to get Putin, this would be a really big, really big event because it would cause a lot of shockwaves if they actually got rid of the guy who's been in charge of Russia for so long. And obviously Russia is going to retaliate from that. That is going to have some geopolitical tensions that will probably have an impact on the stock market to an extent. Let's actually open up the market and see where things are at. We're in a summer of tic-tac-toe between Russia and Ukraine. This is insane, bro. This has been going on since February 2022. Market's actually up pre-market. Wow. Everything's green. I didn't even notice that. Everything is green. Why are we green? We're green. Let me open it up real quick. We've got Tesla green, Enphase green. SoFi is green at 496. Oh, Tesla's basically flat. It's not even green. Palantir is green. Google is green. Now, Apple reports tomorrow. Apple's taking the market down because I don't think Apple's going to have a great report. But we also have the Fed deciding rates today, which will, either take the market down or maybe the market. I don't know anymore when the Fed raises rates. Like everyone knows what the Fed's going to do. But I don't know if, the market's baked it in, so we're going to rally, or the market's like, oh, no, we're so tired of more rate hikes, we're going to go down. Like, I have zero clue. Like, you could not pay me enough money to bet on what's going to happen because I have zero clue at this point. That's zero, if I have to guess. I would argue the market might rally just a little because we know what's going to happen and it's baked in, but we know there's another 25 base point. It depends on what Jerome says. Just like Amazon had a great quarter, but then Jassy said AWS growth is slowing 500 basis points, and then it tanked. I think it'd be the same thing with Powell. If he says anything, then that's gonna be something to take into account. IMGN up 115%. Okay, see, there's these random stocks every day that are going up over hundreds of percents. This bad boy might get halted this morning. This is a biotech. I feel like I've heard of this one before. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. IMGN. This is I feel like I've seen this for a while. Yeah, this has been around for 5 years. Analysts just made an incredible upgrade. Positive data from you see that, guys, I'm in a biotech. I've been in a biotech for 3 years, and I believe in the drug. And so I have money in that. I've literally never sold, even though like it's been dead money for 3 years. Cause I'm like, look, if they have positive data one day, this shit's it's gonna go well. And so that's one of the things where I'm just like, it's literally a lottery ticket. But I've been in it for so long at this point. I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna hold. I don't care anymore. Because now I've been in it for almost 4 years. I'm like, if it hits, it'll be well worth it. If it doesn't, then you know, it is what it is. It was a lesson to not invest in super speculative biotechs. That'll be crazy if that investment hits, because that was like one of the first stocks I ever bought. And it's so funny because I actually think their drug is just amazing. But you know, drug FDA trials, all that stuff, right? Like that shit happens. SMCI. Hold on. All right, let's look at SMCI from Chris. Up 9% pre-market. Wow, look at that. Yeah, so their earnings yesterday were pretty good. I didn't get a chance to go through all the numbers, but it seems like they did a very good job. Their PE is still only 10, right, which is relatively short given they're growing more than 60% year over year. They're at 114. Now, the question is, will it be able to sustain this? Because we've seen SMCI get to close to these levels, like 108, 109-ish, and then it just falls right back down. And, you know, all stocks might fall down today, given what the Fed says. I have zero clue what's going to happen, but it'll be interesting to see if SMCI can actually sustain this. Intel was up yesterday off a not so great NVIDIA report, or sorry, AMD report. So we have Intel up 2.97%, cracking the 30s, and we have AMD down to 85-ish. Now 83. Wow, it's down 7% pre-market. Okay, so the report wasn't horrible, but it also wasn't amazing, and that's why it was down. Thoughts on commercial real estate amid Munger was very bearish in his interview. You know, we were talking about this 2 nights ago with Chris, and Chris had some really good thoughts. Obviously, SLG is one of the stocks he's very bullish on. It's one of the 2 companies in New York that own a majority of the real estate in that city. 1.54 billion market cap, 12 billion in assets, 4 billion in debt. You know, now it's at $22.23, pays a 14.62% dividend yield. Chris thinks that as interest rates go down, there will be a chance for the people who bought their houses or financed or refinanced them at 6-7% interest rates, loans on their houses, mortgages, to potentially lose a lot of the net asset value, the NAV on those houses. So his argument, and that's not commercial real estate, I know that's residential, but his argument is that like interest rates going down might actually be bad for a lot of the residential real estate. But in commercial real estate, yeah, I mean, look, the biggest thing to understand is that work from home is reversing. So even if Munger is bearish, it's a question of specific companies that are going to capitalize on the work from home, I guess you could say, revolution that's changing, and it's going back to normal. And if that's the case, then the REITs that you find that are doing that might end up paying very, very well. What about HIMS? First of all, congratulate to HIMS shareholders. It's up 200% since the end of the year. I really just didn't know about this company for a long time. I mean, I probably should have, but I didn't know. They sell erectile dysfunction drugs, hair loss drugs. I should definitely know about the erectile dysfunction drugs. I don't know why I didn't know about those, but I personally should really understand that. But I didn't know about this company at all, and they're up 200% for the year. So if you've got it, man, shout out to you. At this price, I don't know. I haven't looked at their financials. I don't know if it's worth buying at a $2 billion market cap. I also don't even know what the demand is. You know, outside of my own personal understandings of erectile dysfunction, I don't know what the broader demand is. So I've got to do some more research into that. But congrats to you if you've got this stock. Hello, joining live. I hope to do so more. Major kudos to your endeavors, Chicago Rob Cohen. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Rob. It means the world to me. Thank you for being here live and being in the morning open. Just bought another $1,000 of Palantir. Okay. Let's see. Look, I think they're going to get GAAP profitable this quarter, man. If they don't, I think this whole S&P 500 letter was just nonsense. So I think that's going to happen. I think the market will reward them, but then they'll get sell off, and we'll see what happens. 9:30 a.m., May 3rd, 2023. Remember to take risks, do shit that you would never do. Enjoy your life, because you got one fucking life. You got to try. And in that one fucking life, you got to go for it. The market, ladies and gentlemen, is open. Wake your ass up. Make sure you've got your coffee. Another day, another Dolores. Here we go. 22.22 on SLG, AMD 83.64, Intel 30.67, HIMS 11.79, up 0.9% in the pre-market. SMCI up 116, up 11%. Let's see how that holds over the next 10 minutes. We'll get back to that one. SoFi 497. This bad boy got to 475 last night. The amount of FUD on SoFi is Very interesting right now, but it's at $4.97. Citibank reiterated a $10 buy into the sell-off is completely unnecessary. Let's see if SoFi can get back to $5 and sustain some momentum from there. Enphase 153.67, Google 105. Enphase, we talked about this last night for about 20 minutes. I would suggest going to the Finance Junkies podcast and learning more about it. Q2 is probably still not going to be good because interest rates in America are bad, but by Q3, Q4, we should see a little bit more momentum. Maybe this is a stale year. The dip can get down to about 130, 135-ish if Q2 is really not that good, if it's stagnant. So I wouldn't suggest kind of buying in heavy right now, maybe a little bit of DCA if you're long on it. But it is in for a little bit of turmoil. Long term, it should be fine getting into 2024 and 2025. Google 105.66, giving up most of their earnings gains. I think they rallied to like 108, 109. So they're getting, if they get back to 103, they're back pre-earnings. Palantir 761, Tesla 165, Square 57, Square down a little bit more, $34.82 billion market cap. Apple at 169.83. Tomorrow's earnings are going to be very important for Apple. Uber at 36.87. Shopify also reports tomorrow. Let's go to Shopify, 46.68. I don't think there's any interesting companies reporting today. Let me know in the chat if you think if there are, but I don't think there are that many. Shopify is going to be interesting. I think they did $2 billion in revenue last quarter, so let's see if they can beat that. S&P, well, NASDAQ 12,000. S&P fell to 406 yesterday from 415, right back up to 411. This index is not falling because it's so heavily weighted to big cap tech. So even though the market looks red and things are falling, big cap tech is doing fine. Let's go to Amazon. Amazon, boom, 103. Amazon's not falling below 100 yet. Let's go to Meta. Meta should be at 235-ish, 239. Meta's at 240, doing phenomenally well. $615 billion market cap is Meta right now. And then we got the other one, Microsoft, that I really think at 306 is a bit overvalued, but it's at a $2.28 trillion market cap. Absolutely have killed it. Earnings were great. It probably will come back down to a little bit something more reasonable. You would imagine 290 to 285-ish, but maybe the market continues to run to safety in Microsoft, just like they are doing in this bad boy, NVIDIA, 279. Well, it's down from 287, so it is down to 279, but it seems like the market wants to be in GPUs because they don't know where else to be. BABA, $80, giving up all of their earnings gains, completely saying screw you. Lilium, this stock was up 25 cents last night, or 25%. They got a $250 million capital raise without having to dilute, and it's great for Palantir because Palantir has a ton of Lilium, and Lilium's one of the 4 companies I think actually has a shot to make it out. There's a stupid short report on them last year that turned out not to be true, but that's great for Lilium shareholders and Palantir shareholders. Just crossed over 500 shares of Palantir. Congrats, Carlos. That is awesome. What time is the Fed decision? I believe 2:30. That will be the Fed decision. That cowbell woke my newborn. I'm sorry for that, Doug. It wakes my mom up every day. You guys remember when Amit used the word raw in his YouTube video? Everything reminds me of. I said our raw thoughts on SoFi earnings. Oh, Josh, you're funny, man. Hey, look, man. Sometimes thinking of her is okay because it makes you remember all the fun times you had with her. Amit, you should try Him's product for research. I should, especially the ED one. That one I definitely need to check out. Every time you say a company's overvalued, it keeps going up. Every time you say a company undervalued, it tanks. You're becoming my favorite reverse indicator. Well, if that's the case, then you should definitely use me as the indicator for this. But no, I mean, the thing when it comes to overvaluation, I think NVIDIA obviously is overvalued. The problem is everyone who's been saying it's overvalued, including myself, we don't know how the market interacts with this stock, right? And that's the problem. And the market is just going to decide what it wants to do with this stock because the market has their own agenda with a lot of these companies out there, and they're seeming to run to NVIDIA. But NVIDIA objectively is overvalued. I mean, you're not. This is there are some things that are just you can't justify the valuations outside of the external factors that exist, and the external factors are very, very nice for NVIDIA. Outside of that, companies like Meta, Meta, Amazon, SLG, SMCI, as Chris has been saying, they've been undervalued. They've been undervalued for a while. And that's why the market is rewarding them. Now, SoFi is trading underpriced to book. Okay. So I would argue SoFi is also undervalued. The question just becomes, when that valuation makes sense to the market. Palantir, I've actually not said is undervalued. Palantir, I think, is actually fairly valued. You got to remember, Palantir has a little bit of a pricey valuation at $16 billion, doing $2 billion in revenue and 2 billion shares outstanding. So I've never said Palantir is undervalued. My argument on Palantir is, given what I believe and where the world is going on AI, it's worth paying a little bit more of a premium. It's not insane. And when you compare it to things like Snowflake, I mean, Snowflake's trading at 3 times their TTM. Palantir is trading at 1 time their TTM. That means they're trailing 12-month revenues. They're trading 300% more than Palantir. And they have a market cap that's 3 times Palantir. And they're spending 70% of their sales and marketing on their revenue growth, right? So it's like there are some indicators there that show that Snowflake is a little bit overvalued in comparison to Palantir. But nonetheless, I don't think Palantir is undervalued. I think it's fairly valued. I think it'll grow into its valuation. And I think, you could pay a little bit for that premium. Bro just admitted to having ED to 300 people. It's a joke. It's a joke. Would you sell a stock if it became too big of a position, or at what point do you feel it's too big? No, I mean, look, like Palantir is a pretty big position for me, almost like 60% of the portfolio. It depends on the price action. I think everyone can agree if Palantir went to $15 tomorrow, people would sell because it can't go up 100% in a day, right? It doesn't make any sense. So we would sell. I would absolutely sell if it gets to $15 tomorrow. If it gets to $15 by next year and it is gradual to way up, then I'm like, okay, this is more reasonable. This is more natural. This is not some meme stock mania. So let's keep going from there. Amit, what's the date of Palantir earnings? Palantir earnings will be on May 13th. May 13th, we will have Palantir earnings, and we will get all into the nitty gritty of what's going on in the world of Palantir. Now, let's see what else we've got going on. Okay, what are we expecting today? So we are expecting the Fed to do a 25 basis points hike today. Let's actually pull up this tweet. I think this tweet will give us a little bit of information. This is from my buddy, Chris Patel, what he thinks is going to go on today. And you guys, if you're not following him on Twitter, you can definitely follow him at Chris Patel99. FOMC prediction, 25 basis points hikes with dovish comments from Powell afterwards. Crash in the morning when the number comes out. Strong recovery by end of the day. Either way, going to be a wild ride. So that would be around the 2:30ish time when it comes out. Oh, it's May 8th? Oh, I said May 13th? Oh, I'm sorry. May 8th. May 8th, not May 13th. Yeah, you're correct. May 8th. Look, this is really interesting because the last time Jerome... So 2 times before the rate hike, not the last rate hike, the rate hike before the last rate hike, he was very dovish. I mean, they raised 25 basis, but he was incredibly dovish. I mean, every reporter was just like, why did we even raise 20 basis? He basically thinks inflation is going away. And then the next time, something happened. In between the second to last rate hike and the last rate hike, there was this like thing called Silicon Valley Bank that just happened to like go poof, go boom. It kind of like went away from the planet Earth. And that led to this like contagion effect. And you had the other regional banks, and you had FRC fall 40%, 90%. Now FRC is seized. And so all of that led Jerome to say, well, this is like, we've got an issue here. And that's where we printed $300 billion. The M2 supply was up, which kind of explained a little bit of the rally we had a month ago back in mid-March. And so when all of that happened, that now it was 25 basis points, but with a very hawkish tone, because he was like, we are very kind of unsure about the economic crisis in America. Now it's like things have been resolved to an extent. Inflation is coming down meaningfully, and 25 basis points may be met with not dovishness, but more hawkishness, or potentially more dovishness if they're like things are coming back to normal. But if I had to guess, man, like I just literally can't guess what the market would do, because we don't know when that happens. What time do we do interest? I think it's at 2:30. 2:30 we should know. I think it's gonna be opposite, slightly green in the morning and collapse after Powell talk. And that's very reasonable, because that has happened many, many, many times. So that's incredibly reasonable. As a physician, I can attest that men of all ages have ED for a wide breadth of reasons. Any industry that gets involved with treatment options is poised to do well. By the way, guys, I was kidding. I'm not actually diagnosed with ED. It was a joke. I don't have any problem down there. One day I might, as I get older, or maybe at this age, as this physician is saying, Doc Brandon. That's so cool. Your name is Doc Brandon, and you're a physician. Oh, hold on. We got to ring the bell, because we just hit 300. I feel like I'm going to do this every time on a live stream. When we hit 300, I'm going to until 300 gets so normalized that we're going to do this at 400. But for now, 300 is crazy. Thank you all for being here. It means the absolute world. 300 people in the chat. It's super cool just to talk in the morning to 300 people. It's awesome. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. All right, Palantir down 0.20%. Snowflake at 144. SoFi at 490. So not maintaining that little rally it had to $5. Microsoft at 305. Meta 239. Amazon 104. S&P at 411. Now Microsoft is potentially thinking of bringing people back into Amazon bringing back people into the office, a little bit more stringent on their work from home policies. This might eliminate a little bit more of the workforce that's not willing to do that, especially a lot of tech workers that like just don't want to put up with working from the office. So we may see a little bit more layoffs in Amazon. If Amazon can just like cut a little bit more CapEx, their free cash flow is going to be really phenomenal in the next 2 quarters. along with the ads business. The ads business, I mean, I cannot believe how well the ads business is doing. Now, speaking of advertising, I want to pull up this right here and discuss what's going on here. So I will make a video about this later today, but we have had a string of media companies that have basically fallen into, well, for lack of a better word, a really bad situation. BuzzFeed is currently basically on the block of either getting eaten up by a competitor or declaring bankruptcy. It's down 31%, even more today. I mean, BuzzFeed's in a bad situation. Let me pull up the Vice Media situation, and this I will be making a video about today in the context of Palantir, because one of the last videos they uploaded, or sorry, articles, was basically shitting on Palantir, and then 5 days later they go bankrupt. And it's just so characteristic. They're preparing to file for bankruptcy. It's going to happen soon. It is so unbelievable that the age of these media companies, in terms of how they choose to cover media, they could not make a profit off that, because the clickbait sensationalism around Palantir being some evil spy company supported by Trump that has no basis in reality was not enough to get people's attention. Who would have thought that just wasn't enough anymore? Vice Media Group was once valued at $5.7 billion. Now, why is this number so important? Because that's a valuation you give to a technology company, not a media company. The difference between media and technology is media is just content, right? This YouTube channel is media at the end of the day. Technology enables the media. So like YouTube is always valued more than a YouTube channel, because YouTube, even if it's Mr. Beast, right? Because at the end of the day, Mr. Beast stopped posting videos, boom, it's done. YouTube has endless amounts of videos from people posting on it. That's why Aldia.io, my startup, is linked in the description. I'm building a tech company that is a platform for hosting the content. In the same time, I'm building a media presence, right, on YouTube. But you've got to be able to build the tech if you want to have really long-term gains and exponential gains on a company, not just the media, because the media is a commodity, right? Media is a commodity. So these media companies that raised money at ridiculous valuations, BuzzFeed raised like $1.4 billion from venture capital firms, from Disney. Disney was going to acquire them, or sorry, Disney was going to acquire Vice at one point, and then they chose not to. All of these media companies, they pitched this new idea of like journalism and this and that, and they didn't live up to it, right? Because the legacy media companies that were funded by cable basically said the world is collapsing underneath them because no one's on cable anymore, or a very, significantly, there's a significant amount of people that are declining. So media companies said, hey, we're going to use social platforms to be able to generate our interest. The problem with this also was that a lot of the social platforms changed their algorithms. Zuck's changed most of the algorithms that benefited BuzzFeed from 2011 to 2015, back in 2016 when he decided to just do so. And because he decided to do that, that's where they basically declined, and they lost most of their traffic. SMCI is up 19%, $124.64. This is another Chris stock. Someone said on the ETF last night on Finance Junkies, this is why you got to listen to Finance Junkies, because Chris mentioned this stock, I think 2 months ago. This is why you have to tune into the podcast, because he's doing due diligence on another stock last night, and I sent him this meme, the guy rubbing his hands. Chris was like, hey, I'm looking into a stock, I'm doing DD. I was like, okay, very good. Keep doing that DD. Someone said we should start a Chris ETF, which is hilarious, which is insane. Because like if we had Weight Watchers, SMCI, Duolingo, Meta, and what's this, and SLG, and let's probably put Amazon in there. Those 6 stocks probably, if we put them when Chris bought them, are performing better than most hedge fund managers. And who would have thought SLG, a commercial real estate, SMCI, this kind of unknown semiconductor play, Weight Watchers, which is like who even thinks about Weight Watchers anymore? Meta is kind of obvious, Amazon's kind of obvious, and you just put all those together. But it wasn't obvious when he bought it, right? Bought it at $88, $98. And then boom, you've got a pretty nice little ETF of companies that are returning well. Apple just passing 170, so not bad. Now, granted, I don't know if SMC holds this. I mean, we have to see if SMC can really hold this, because 125, it's nice, but they've got to be able to hold this in some turmoil that's going on. Now, granted, they're not that well known against the market, so you wouldn't imagine there's that much short pressure, things like that. But we'll see if that can happen. JP Morgan, this is a stock that I think I saw this stock at $98 in 2020. This is one where I knew the company because I applied to get a job there. I think I should have. I had some calls on them a while ago. I should have just bought JP Morgan a while ago. It was at 99 in 2022. Wow. Yeah, it's one of those companies that it's kind of a household name. It's done very well. FRC has been really great for it. They pay a 2.9% dividend yield, and their shares are up 99 to 137. Let's do some quick math on that. They are up 38% for the year while paying a 3% dividend. JP Morgan, and who would have imagined the bank collapse would have happened, but the fact that it did happen and it benefited JP Morgan makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, a lot of those people just went to JPM. Less competition for a bit. Thanks, Jerome. Yeah. Imagine that. Lying to viewers nonstop causes a loss of viewers. It's inconceivable. These media companies, and so I don't want to celebrate media companies dying, but Vice can't publish these articles anymore about Palantir, and those are the main articles that pop up when you type in their name in Google because they're going bankrupt. And it's you can't do that anymore as a media. People want the truth. People want authenticity at the end of the day, especially in a world of AI content where there's so much content. If you don't have authenticity, you don't have anything from anybody. You know what? People can smell through the BS is what I'm trying to say. It's why I've never done a sponsorship on this channel. I've never done a sponsorship on this channel ever. Because at some level, you have to be thankful enough that people care about being on your channel and giving them your time, that you don't want to sell out. And I'm not saying advertising is selling out, but what I am saying is when you look at things like FTX was paying a crap load of money to people, and a lot of the people that were getting into FTX, they didn't think, for a second, well, does my audience even like crypto? Do they care about crypto? Is I didn't expect you to do a ton of due diligence because BlackRock can't do their due diligence. But at some level, there were channels promoting FTX that don't even have a crypto audience. It's just nonsense. And it's you can't take advantage of the audience. You cannot. People's time is limited, and who they choose to spend it with really matters. You cannot take advantage of people. That doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. I know what it feels like. A lot of people have heard me say this before. I know what it feels like to talk to zero people, man. I was forget 2 years. I'm thinking 2020 to end of 2021. Since 2017, I was doing content in a lot of different. I know what it feels like to put out a video no one sees. I know what it feels like to put out a tweet. You're just talking to an echo chamber. There's not even an echo chamber. There's not even a chamber. You're talking to your own echo. You're talking to nobody. It sucks. It really sucks. It's not fun. It's why making content is one of the most difficult things in the world. As soon as you get that audience, you've got to nurture it and really build a community. And as soon as you sell out to them, which is what I think Vice did and BuzzFeed did many, many times with the clickbait sensationalism. And look, everyone does clickbait. I'm not saying clickbait is the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying you have to fulfill on that promise. You can't keep doing it to the point where you're taking advantage and you're treating your audience like little monkeys where they'll just click on anything and you don't care about the implications of that and what it means for you or your brand. When you do that, people notice. They're not stupid and they will leave because they have unlimited amounts of options. They can do anything because content is infinite. 82 on AMD, down 8.48%. Enphase up 1.4%. Google up 0.42. Tesla 1.60. 162. Elon Musk actually went live on Twitter last night. People forgot there's a live function on Twitter, and he had 22,000 viewers, but the live technology he was using to go live was from Periscope. If you don't know what Periscope is, it's a company that Twitter bought for I think 20-30 million bucks or something in 2015. They have not updated the code of the company. They the fact that Twitter could not build a basic go live option after they acquired the technology to do that since 2015, almost 10 years. And Elon's what's going on? Why haven't we updated this tech? Is just insane. It blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. Joseph Carlson did it. Yeah. And Joseph Carlson is actually one of the good finance YouTubers, but he got persuaded by the money as well. Man, wait, when someone's giving you 50 grand a month, you got a family, got kids. It's just all I have to do is say these 3 letters and I get 50 grand a month. I don't blame him, but I also think his audience hates crypto because he hates crypto. So it was kind of ridiculous that he did it. But at the end of the day, you got to know that. You got to know. People want authentic nonsense by someone who actually believes the nonsense. Yes, exactly. If you're going to say nonsense, you got to at least believe it. That's the biggest thing. When will you do an all-day stream? I've pseudo done an all-day stream before, but it's just after YouTube, I actually have a startup I work on. YouTube's maybe 2 hours of the day if you include this and Finance Junkies. So, maybe put in another hour for I make another video. So 3 hours. The rest of the day is startup. So a lot more stuff. But one day I'll do it. We should be able to do it one day. Okay, let's get into the mainstream media and see what they are talking about. If they have any interesting thoughts today. on anything that's going on. I think, again, some of the biggest news was a lot of these media company bankruptcies, Russia-China situation, and we talked about Icon's wealth falling yesterday. I mean, that was incredible. IEP Industries down pretty badly off that short report. Let's hear a little bit around banking stress, because we've got JP Morgan up, we've got regional banks falling. A lot of this is going to impact the Fed's decision. So let's take a little bit of a look at that. People talk about SoFi's price to book of 1. Citibank trades at a 0.5 price to book. Yes, Josh, but Citibank is not growing anywhere near the rate that SoFi is growing, right? So that's a little bit different. Did you see the CoffeeZilla and Meet Kevin crazy? I don't think there's any new video by CoffeeZilla, right? I think you're talking about the old video where he interviewed him about the FTX collapse thingy. If that's the case, yes, I saw that video a long time ago. And yeah, I mean, look, I love Meet Kevin, but he also has been known to kind of just like pimp out his audience a lot. And like, that's the one thing where I'm like, it's hard, man. Cause you know, it's just like selling courses, selling this, selling that. It's a lot on people. You're just constantly selling them and you're not valuing the attention that they're giving you at the end of the day. All right. Banking stress is going to remain. JP Morgan's Kelly Barrow. Let's hear what she has to say.
Kelsey Barrow, fixed income portfolio manager at JP Morgan Asset Management. Here's how I'm going to start, which I was going to do before that great discussion where you were nodding and listening. So, 16-year highs in interest rates, yet historically, 5% is not that high, but we have seen what happens when you move from zero. And in light of what Steve just said, the regional banks again yesterday, okay, go up another 25 basis points, and if there is duration risk left, that just makes it worse. If deposits keep going out and they have to sell some of this stuff they were going to hold to maturity, another 25 basis points marked makes it even worse. Does the Fed take that into account or not?
So I think they are taking it into account, but there's always this debate about should they or will they. In this case, it doesn't really matter what they should do, it's what they will do, and then markets have to deal with the consequences of that. So what they will do today is they're going to hike 25 basis points. The market is priced for about 80% probability of that. What the consequences are is that growth, inflation are going to continue to come down, and banking stress is going to remain. There is a disequilibrium right now between deposit rates, they're still very low, and money market rates, which are at 5%. So even though the Fed has set up this backstop, there's going to continue to be this drip out of the deposit system into the money market funds that is going to continue to put pressure on the banks.
So how many mandates does the Fed have? They got dollar stability, they've got full employment. I thought that in 1907 that it was created for banking stability. So there's at least 3. Is dollar stability, i.e. inflation, really paramount right now? Should it be?
So I think right now what they're focused on.
This is actually a good question, because it's really in the context of like, look, is the stability of the dollar, which has been a little unstable over the past couple months, the biggest thing, which means inflation has to come down, right? So rate hikes have to go up, or is like economic externalities more important than just the stability of the dollar?
On is financial stability, and then of course price stability.
Why would they go up 25 basis points if they were focused on financial stability?
Well, I think in their minds right now, they've set up the appropriate backstops in terms of liquidity. The banks are functioning to a certain extent, but what we're concerned about is a credit crunch, is credit being withdrawn from the system. It doesn't happen all overnight. It happens quickly and then slowly. It's this chronic problem that we expect. So bottom line, I'm a fixed income portfolio manager here. What does all this say to me? You have the Fed, which is pausing. They should pause after this meeting. So one more hike and then they pause. We see all the signs that growth is rolling over, all the signs that inflation is rolling over. If yields are going to be rallying, core fixed income is going to perform very well in your portfolio under this environment.
Kelsey, let me ask you, what happens?
Now that's assuming we pause, which means we pivot after this 25 base. I don't know if that's necessarily, because a lot of people were saying we would pause now. And then we had a little bit more turmoil in the banking sector, which led Powell to say, we got to do a little bit more. So I don't know if a pause happens after this one, maybe after the next 25 basis points hike, but it could happen.
today if they do what the market's not expecting and they actually do pause now? What happens to fixed income immediately?
So I think knee-jerk, you're going to get a rally. Yields are going to move lower. That would definitely be a dovish surprise to the market. But there is going to be, on the other hand, this concern about what does the Fed know that we don't know? I mean, they talk to the banks every single day. We get on a weekly basis the deposit data, right? The commercial bank deposit data. They basically see that on a daily basis. So there is going to be this question about what do they see that we don't? Now, there is something right now that they see that we don't. It's the Senior Loan Officer Opinion Survey. We get a copy of that May 8th.
Right.
They already have that on hand. What I think.
Bro, whenever CNBC starts playing music at the end of someone speaking, I'm like, is this the Grammys or something? Like, you're like, all right, stop talking right now. That's why I love listening to like podcasts when it comes to finance stuff, because you just want to hear like people trying to express their thoughts. But you know, it's the TV environment. You got to adjust for that. Look, she makes a good point. At the end of the day, if 25 basis points happens now, it's the last one, we pause, inflation starts coming down, growth starts coming down as well. There's more layoffs. The Fed feels a little bit more excited that deflation is coming. AI technologies that are rapidly growing start to show bigger signs of deflation in different areas. There's going to be a deflationary effect. And by the end of this year, it might be a massive, massive uptick in the market because inflation has gone down. Inflation's at, where is inflation right now? What was the last CPI? It was at 5 exactly, right? CPI, it was at 5 exactly. If we get to 3 by December, that's very close to 2, right? That's the Fed's mandate. These rates are going up and these growth stocks are coming back. It might not happen this year. It might happen Q1 next year. But if it does happen, then it's going to be a nice situation. Shout out to TJ the Wheel Deal. It's a friend of the channel. Good friend of mine. He says, I'm able to do 5 hours of work before my wife wakes up in Maui. You might have to do it out here. She can't give me crap about work if she's asleep the whole time. He just got married to his beautiful wife, Kristen, I think he's on Maui on his honeymoon. So that's awesome, man. Shout out to you, TJ. Happy for you. He texted me some photos from the wedding. And it's so cool, man. I've never met the guy in person, but like the fact that we're friends over YouTube, that's just the cool thing about making content. It's like, I'm so happy for this guy that he's married because I actually kind of know him now, which is awesome. You still owe me a steak dinner. So next time I'm in Texas, because he gave the other SoFi Weekly boys, he met up with them a couple weeks ago. He gave them barbecue, and I'm like, you can't do that before you give me a steak dinner. That's not how we do this. The 25 basis points is dumb, literally going to be driving us into a brick wall for nothing. The thing is, if the Fed doesn't do 25 basis points, I think Jerome will feel that the market thinks he's weak and he doesn't have the ability to get it done, even though I do agree. I don't think it's necessarily needed. But hopefully this is the last one. And if this is the last one, I didn't even I didn't even know about interest rates when I was in college. I had no idea why they were important, what matters so much. And now there's not a day that goes by without me thinking about goddamn interest rates. They're just on my mind constantly. I just remember 5 years ago, I would never care what the federal funds rate is or what Powell is doing. I was I don't care, man. I'm living my life. Now I'm like, no, this actually matters. My money is going to be, I need to know what these interest rates are going to be. Let me know. Is it 25? Is it 50? What are we doing? What are the bips? What bips are we doing today? Because if I don't know, then I might have to sell out some positions. And if they don't raise inflation, yeah, exactly, Owen. If they don't raise inflation expectations shoot up, which means stocks go down because yields will go up, bonds, short-term treasuries will go up. Even this concept that short-term treasuries go up when interest rates rise because they are risk-free adjusted, right? I can put $10,000 into a bond and get 4% yield on it. Where's the 10-year right now? Versus having to take a risk with a company that has to execute and show returns and grow in a struggling macro to get that same 4%. It's been a year of me really understanding what that fundamentally means. That when rates go up, bonds and stocks perform inversely to each other. That's one of the most basic macro concepts, and I've really started to understood it deeply over the past, I would say, year and a half. Go to 10-year treasury. The 10-year treasury is where is it at? It's at 3.39%. So it's down from 4.28, which was the high, right? The high was around 4. I think the high was 4.6. So I might be wrong, 4.2. So the 10-year is 3.3. Is it still inverted with the 2-year? The 2-year treasury is 3.9. Yeah, the 2 years 2.9, the 10 years to 3.3. And again, that doesn't make any sense, because if you're putting out your money, you should, for a longer amount of time, which means you're taking more of an opportunity cost with your money, you should be getting a higher return. That's why we are in the situation we're in, because the 2-year and 10-year are inversed. And that's where we're at. Life was better then. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Life was no, but it's fun. It's fun because like it's almost like being a computer scientist, right? Like if you're in the tech space and you know computer science and you try to talk to your friends about like coding or comp sci or data management or science or like, you can't do it because they just don't know that stuff, right? You can kind of conceptually explain it a little bit, but you can't talk about like the specific code you use in Python or all this, because people just don't get it. It's the same with stocks. Like interest rates to me and how bonds, like this shit is like, it's almost like second nature now. Like I'm really starting to understand this at a deeper level. And like when I try to talk to friends about it, or even my parents, right, when they ask me what's going on with the market, you realize how like simply you have to explain this shit for people to get it. Because it's not easy the first time you hear it. It's easy like the 50th time you hear it and you do a video on it every day, you're listening to CNBC. But most people are not consuming CNBC, they're not consuming Yahoo Finance, they're not consuming Finance YouTube. Their media intake is not information heavy on stocks, finance, and how politics affects all of that stuff. So they can't really explain what, like, I think the average American has no idea what bonds and why they perform better when interest rates go up versus stocks. Like I think they have no idea. Most average Americans don't know what a stock is. Like again, my parents didn't start investing until they were like 60. My mom's 53, my dad's, they didn't even touch a stock. And so not only they didn't care about stocks, no one really educated them about that. And I think that's the majority of Americans. They just don't know. Outside of, your 401k, but I don't even think my mom or my sister knew, or my dad, what their 401k was doing. That's why you go, me and the finance junkies. We may be small, but we actually get it. Yeah, that's also, if I can give a little shout out to our podcast, that's growing really nicely. And shout out to the 300 people who join that every night. That's why I love the finance junkies, bro. I think we've got something here. It's fun because I'm more of the, like, even perfect example. Okay. Chris was saying these loans are mark to market. And I just, I didn't care about how dumb it would sound. I was like, Chris, what the fuck does mark to market mean? Can you please break this down? And then he spent 5 minutes actually explaining. I might clip that and just put that, like, so you guys can. It's a great explanation about what it means to mark something to the market. And I heard Chamath on the Olin podcast all the time say it. And every time he says it, I'm just like, that sounds smart. Mark to market. I'm like, but I can never say that in my daily life. I can never steal his talking point because I have no idea what mark to market means. It's like, are we marking the market? What are we? It sounds cool because the alliteration of market, but I was like, I don't know what that means. And so just asking him those questions and him breaking it down, it's super good. And I think that's the good dynamic we have in the pod. And then you got Vitaly and Carlos, and there's a little bit of humor there. It's fun. I don't know, man. I think I also love doing it. I can't explain how much I love doing that podcast. It's just like I love doing the market open. I love 10 o'clock hits. I'm like never like, oh man, we got to do the pod. And there's many shows I've done before where I'm like, oh boy, I got to do it. Like, no, this one, I'm just like, this is fun. I'm excited, to do it. And so that's the cool thing about it. SoFi about to go lower than yesterday. Let's get into the charts. Why? SoFi was at 470 yesterday. Is it back there? Don't tell me it's back there. Hold on. Webull, share screen. Okay, here we go. Sorry, why is it being stupid? Okay, here we go. SoFi. Wow, 478. So that little run this morning was not legit. It was running up to $5. Yeah, I don't know, man. Look, SoFi is in financial institutions are struggling heavily right now, and people are scared. I do think the sell-off is a bit unwarranted. I don't think it should be down 30%. That's kind of insane. But it's going to struggle. We have to acknowledge the fact that Apple got $1 billion in deposits in 4 days. Again, I'm not on the side like Tanner is on the podcast that Apple's the fintech killer. I don't think that's going to happen necessarily. But I do think that's not good for SoFi. It's definitely not good. So I listened to Noto talk, though, and Noto's pretty confident. I mean, he seems like things would be fine. He would be really confident he picks up some shares. If he picks up a couple $1 million worth of shares, a lot of shareholders would be very happy. But we got to see if that happens. Yes, please clip. Was half asleep and watching the Lakers game, as Chris explained. The Lakers won last night, bro. I was so happy. You guys don't know how much I love LeBron. I don't talk about it on, I don't really talk about the NBA on this stuff, but I just want LeBron to win a championship and like win it in Los Angeles. Like I really want him to like get his 5th ring. I still think Michael Jordan's better, but I grew up with LeBron my whole life, right? LeBron's like the biggest inspiration to me. So I really want him to win this championship. And if they can beat the Warriors, because the Warriors have beaten him so many times, if he can get the Warriors, Oh man, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. All right. That's it for me, everybody. Thank you, 331 people here being in the chat. It means the freaking world to me. I cannot explain it. Again, I just sometimes I feel like I have to over communicate how grateful I am, because one day this could all go away, and the fact that you guys choose to show up means the world to me, and I will continuously choose to show up and provide as much value as I can. The crazy thing is, like, it's only been a year of the channel, so it's like I just don't know what it would be like 2-3 years from now if we keep growing, keep building. Like, it's really cool, and I'm happy to be building it with all of you guys, and it means the world to me. So have a good day, everybody. It is Wednesday. We've got earnings tomorrow. There's no really interesting earnings today. Finance Junkies will talk about what the Fed's decision did on the market and how the market reacted. Shopify and Apple are tomorrow, so those are the big ones we want to keep a lookout for and see what goes on from there. Please follow on Twitter Adam is Investing. If you are on Twitter, you can follow me there, and I keep up with market updates. My startup link in the description. We just shipped some new updates, so if you want to check it out, you can sign up in the link in the description. Give me some thoughts on what you think about that. And Twitter DMs is a perfect place to email me or message me on any thoughts. All right. That's it. Thank you, everybody. I will see you later tonight on Finance Junkies. I have another video coming out today about Vice Media and Palantir. Make sure you check that out. And then Finance Junkies later tonight. Good night, everybody. Have a great day. Keep going for it. And I will see you tonight at 10 p.m. on the podcast. Good night. Have a good one.